Greetings and welcome to the Art of Rising, where we are exploring transformation, leadership, and the rise of conscious visionaries helping to change the planet. So, before we get into our guests, I just wanted to mention that we are having our Purple Sage Festival on June 28th. It is the biggest one yet. This is the tide that rises all boats. So, if you stay to the end of the podcast, we can help you out with that ticket. I appreciate you for showing up and tapping in. We have a wonderful, wonderful, powerful guest right here. I mean, his resume is quite extensive, and he is actually a top 100 global influencer in franchising and a proven leader and mentor in entrepreneurs worldwide. He has a deep insight into what it takes to scale with integrity, leadership, and purpose, and rise with impact. So, welcome to the show, Brother Lucas Frey. Thank you for being here.
Omar, wow. I don't know how we can get any better than that. Thank you very much. Very profuse but I appreciate it. Thank you.
Of course, of course. I had to write it down. I was like, I just want to say the right thing,
Man, I couldn't have come up with anything like that. Thank you.
Thank you. Why don't you tell us where you live in these days and what you're doing with yourself?
Absolutely. I am blessed for the last year and 5 months now. I moved back to my hometown where I graduated with 109 of my favorite people in the world in a little town called Wauseon, Ohio. It's in Northwest Ohio, smack dab between downtown Toledo and the Indiana border. I'm blessed to have both of my parents still be alive, but as they get up in their older age, one of them is having health issues. So I'm here to help my sister out with that. And my mother, thank goodness, doesn't have any health issues, but who knows how long?
Right.
Who knows how long anybody's going to be around, right?
Exactly. Some people just assuming things. I'm like, hey, listen now, it's anybody's turn around here. So
yeah.
So let's get it.
If there's really something you want to get done, do it today.
That's right. That's what I say.
Tomorrow's
Let's get
never
it.
Promised.
That's right. Let's not wait. Let's get it. So, I found you among other people, and you seem to have stood out in the crowd because you have such an extensive and diverse bio. But one of the things that I noticed that is on your LinkedIn profile right on the top, and this is one of the things that I live by, is it states that God has not given us the spirit of fear, but of power and of love and of sound mind. Ooh, that's powerful, brother. Yes, if you could tell me a little bit about that.
Sure, it's one of my favorite verses. I mean, the whole Bible's inspired by God. So how somebody picks one or two out, that's a personal issue. Fear holds many people back, and fear held me back for a long time. For 11 years, I battled alcoholism, and it even got to the point where my addicted mind said, why doesn't everybody do this? I couldn't understand why everybody didn't get up at 6 o'clock in the morning and go work out and immediately get in the truck and have a little Gatorade and vodka. It was cool stuff. But man, it was the fear of what do I do next? Because I saw that's back before I had an abundant mindset. I had a very fixed mindset. I owned a company. I was a firefighter. I was part of our regional urban search and rescue team. I thought I had 2 beautiful daughters that were doing great in school. Man, I thought that was the end. And I was afraid to explore more. So I withdrew, and my introverted self helped me do that. I gained energy when I was by myself. So when I was by myself, I'd just have another drink. It was all good. But then it just got to the point where I figured out, you know what? I got to do something else. My franchisor bought my franchise back. I was doing the firefighting for 19 years and 11 years as the chief. I did that on a volunteer basis, so that wasn't going to sustain me very long. And even though I made some good money selling my franchise back, that wasn't going to last another 30 years, which, you know, if I was only 50 years old at the time I sold it, needed to do something. So it finally kicked me in the butt and said, you got to stop doing this. And after 4 days in the hospital, where I don't remember a whole lot of anything other than I think I shared with you the last time we talked, my father, he and I didn't get along, didn't see eye to eye. And that happens all the time with a lot of people. And quite a few years, we didn't even communicate much, but in my stupor at the hospital and as I'm tied to the bed so I don't get up wandering around, because I thought I was fine. I thought everything was cool. I look up and he's sitting at the end of my bed. And he had flown in. He was on a movie shoot with Denzel Washington. My dad was he drives the buses. So he had Denzel's workout bus for that movie. And I just looked up and saw him and I knew I hated to be in that spot, but I knew I was where I needed to be. And when I went through 30 days of rehab, people would tell me exactly the same thing. Don't you hate being here? I mean, most of the folks there were court ordered, and it was obvious that it wasn't having much of an effect on them. The counseling and the group sessions, you know, they were young and just knew better than everybody else. And why doesn't the world trust me? And I mean, at one point in time, I had to look at a young lady and say, look, you've done nothing to deserve trust from anyone. And until you earn that trust, I said, that's why we're all here, is because we have such an addictive personality that people don't trust us anymore. And we got to stop that. Wow. So anyway, while I was in rehab, you know, it was 30 days of hell, but it's exactly where I needed to be. And by God's grace, I came through it physically and mentally even tougher. And it took me a while, but you talked about my diverse background. Well, that diverse background caused a little bit of confusion because I didn't know how to pair up my corporate engineering career with firefighter leadership with business ownership until I read a book called Wisdom at Work by Chip Connolly. And he was one of the founders of Airbnb. He was the young guys did the tech, and Chip Connolly was the old guy, and he did the mentoring and the coaching and helping the young guys get their minds right on starting a business. So that's what I've done. And I enjoy every second of it, man. You know, they say, love what you do and it's not a minute of work. I was writing until, I don't know, 11 o'clock on a Sunday evening. I would have never thought to do that in all of my careers. And it wasn't work to me.
Right.
And it's not work.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful for you to come out of that. And we did speak about some of those things. It was quite profound and deep. You know, I mean, my old man passed on last year, and, you know, he had his bouts with the alcohol. And then I saw that. And as you already know, like monkey see, monkey do. Right. So I was just following those things that I hated about him. I ended up doing exactly those things, womenizing and abusing my body, my finances, my living situation. And it was quite scary. And I picked up a number of things too, you know, but I was able to, at some point, I just wanted to get off the ride, you know, and it seems that that's what happened to you. You know, I mean, what was that the turning point for you? And then you went to the rehab and you never looked back. Is that how it more or less went down?
It was more of a kick in the butt that I had to, and that was great. And one of the very big blessings that came out of it was, I've always thought I was a Christian. I grew up in a Lutheran church. You know, yes, I'm saved, baptized, confirmation, all that kind of stuff. Thought I was a Christian, thought I was living godly life, thought I was,
yeah.
but man, looking back, I was so selfish during those times. Even when being on the fire department and an EMT, God used me in those selfish years to help other people. And looking back, I was doing it more for, hey, look what I'm doing. Look what I can do, mom and dad. Look what I can do, world.
Right.
And it wasn't for him. And the very first morning I woke up at rehab, and it was a place in Mansfield, Texas, just south of Dallas, called Riverwalk Ranch. And the very first morning I woke up, my wife had packed my bag because I didn't get a chance to go home from the hospital stay. It was
straight.
You go right there. Yeah. And I hadn't packed a bag because I was just going to the doctor to have him help me get through my withdrawal symptom. And he said, nah, you need to get to a hospital today. And that was after 4 days of detoxing. The reason I went finally admitted, because I had detoxed for 11 years. I had detoxed over and over and over again. There were probably, I don't know, handful of times that I would go six to 9 months being sober and thought it was cool and thought I could drink again and fell right back into it. So anyway, what got me to go to the doctor and finally admit it was the fourth night of my detox from 10 p.m. until 4 a.m. in the morning. I was literally fighting demons. I was hallucinating to the point where there were people that were constantly coming after me, and I had to fight them in the bedroom. And at one point in time, my wife walked in, and I had to ask her, I said, are you real? Or are you a demon? And she said, no, I'm real. And then went back to bed. And so at 4 o'clock that morning is when they finally stopped. And I went to her and said, sweetheart, I'm back on alcoholism. What you saw last night was me hallucinating. I've got to get to a doctor. So that started it. And he said, no, you need to get to and I was shaking so bad by the time I woke up the morning I stopped drinking, I couldn't drive to the liquor store to buy more to stop the shakes. So, I mean, it all works. God uses everything in his good. Everything.
It's perfect. It's perfect.
There's no doubt about it, brother.
No doubt. Incredible. I know about those things, those shakes, and you know, for me, it was that thing inside, the feeling. You know, it's hard to explain, right? Because some people go, "Oh, they're demons. This energy, it's just you're making things up." But listen, you could put whatever name you want on it, but it was just that thing that had me and just didn't want to let go. I don't know how I got it. I don't know how it tied itself to me and wouldn't let go. I don't, you know. So that kind of baffled me in the beginning too. And I could see that's how it happened to you too. Like, you're like, how could this be? Like, I can't shake this thing off. And then the physicalness too, those shakes, the trembling. Oh, it's terrible, man.
Well, to finish my story, when I woke up the very first morning at the rehab center, I opened my bag, and my wife at the time was a believer, but she wasn't a follower as far as a relationship with Christ. And there on the very top of my bag is my Bible that I hadn't, it was dusty, hadn't opened it in years. I mean, you know, we read Bible scripture and stuff and Bible verses and knew the stories from back in Sunday school as a 5-year-old up to high school, but I never read it. So at 3 o'clock that morning, and I've done it every day since, and that was over 5 years ago now, almost 5.5 years. And every morning since, I read a chapter of the Old Testament, chapter of Psalms, and a chapter of the New Testament. And the relationship, being Christian is all about God gives us that gift of having a relationship with him, that
Mhm.
no matter what's going on in my moment, and
Mhm.
man, this could cure. I could have well, not me, but God has the
Mhm.
the best cure for depression, the best cure for anxiety, the best
Mhm.
cure is to just live in the moment with him,
Mhm.
and knowing that he is the one that's providing for you at that moment. I can do
Mhm.
nothing.
Right.
I mean, I
Right.
proved that to myself.
Right.
I make horrible decisions,
Mhm. Mhm.
but
Mhm.
if I focus on him and our relationship, and every morning, every moment,
Mhm.
I can't go wrong.
Right. Right. People who normally come to the Omziel healing sanctuary, at some point we let them know, what's your relationship with God? And we've had people like, wow, man, they leave here and they start getting serious about it, because God is there no matter what. You could be smoking crack underneath somebody's, roof or back staircase, but we never lose that connection, But it's those things that are there. And we have free will, right? Scripture speaks about this. Many scriptures speak about that free will. We could do whatever we want. Nothing is gonna open up the sky and come out and go, "Hey, you shouldn't do that." Right? Like me and you,
Mm-hmm.
we could just go out right now and rob a bank. We might get caught. Yeah, that's true. But we could do, if that's our choice. And but when we start, indulging in these things, right? Because they call them, wines and spirits, right? They put that in the right because they know that it's a spirit, right? In fact, alcohol comes from the Arabic word argul, and that is an entity. It's a spirit that is connected to us. And once we start, we're in a coma. Most of us, we're sleeping most of the time. But once you add alcohol, oh no, no, you're in a coma now. It's like
Yeah. Yeah. And then we make all the excuses in the world to be able to justify it to ourselves, because at the you still have to get up in the morning,
mhm,
and you still
mhm,
have to live
mhm,
with yourself, and
mhm,
that's another, huge reason for
mhm,
unfortunately the suicide rate the way that it's
mhm,
going right now is
mhm,
that relationship with God, and the one-on-one with him,
mhm,
and
mhm,
knowing that he is omnipresent and omnipotent
mhm,
and omniscient,
mhm.
to be able to have that power, man, that just, I can't imagine that. His thoughts are greater than my thoughts.
Right,
And
right.
that's okay. That's all
Yeah,
right.
that's all right. That's one of the things that we preach here too, is like, what is your relationship with God? You have to realize that there is a power and a force outside of you that is greater than you. We walk around thinking that the world is revolving around us, but it's not like that. It's not like
Right.
that. We're part of this environment, this realm. They put us here, and they put us inside here, right? Because we're pure consciousness, and we're encased in this physical form, But then it's our will to do what is it that we want, and honor God. Like, hey, this is a privilege, man. Thank you so much. While I'm here, let's go. Let's get it. Let's help people. I don't know how that looks for anybody. It's different for everyone.
It
But for
is.
me,
And I'm curious, Omar,
mhm.
what was your moment?
For me, it was a series of things. I went through some of those things also, like, oh, sober for a while. And I was like, oh, I'm good. And then I would go back again, like, I can handle this.
Mm-hmm.
We call it the roommate. The roommate was talking to me, and I was agreeing with the voice, saying,
Mm-hmm.
oh, oh, oh yeah, I can handle this. It's okay. But then it would snowball, right? Down, it was before you know it, I was like, I couldn't understand how I got back into the mess again. Either I was handcuffed, arrested somewhere, or I did something, atrocious to someone, or I don't know how I got home. Oh man, it was just terrible like that. And I just wanted to change. I just realized, man, this is not right. This is not a right way for people to live. And then I started searching for that thing, whatever that thing is, that God, that higher power. Like, I need to get out of this, and I need help. And I was praying to any gods, like, But then you realize there's only one true God, that created the one that brought you here, you know. And then things started opening up for me. My wife helped me a great deal. I was thinking about that today. I was like, wow, how do you pay back somebody that saves your life? You can't. She helped me on those deep levels. So, it was like that. And, I thought I was the smartest guy in the room, which sometimes I still do. I got to check myself, right? And then, at any opportunity, I was just trying to get that thing, and we had another guest that was on the show too, and he had said that things got so bad for him when he was in the airport on the plane. He was having some drinks, and they were like, "Okay, sir, no more drinks for you." And he was like, "What? Wait a minute. How about that woman? How many drinks has she had?" "Oh, well, she only had one." He said, "Well, then give me the ones that you were going to give her." Yeah,
Yeah.
that's how we are. We're twisted like that. So things started opening up for me, and then once I started putting things down, oh my God. And I was like, I'm not going to pick that up no more. I'm not going to treat people like that no more. And I'm going to do something with my time, And then my father was a big influence too, because I saw that he was doing things now. He taught me all of these bad things, but at this point in his journey, he was really getting it. And he was in deep meditation and clearing his life, and he was a family man, super devoted. So I was like, yeah, I'm going to do that too, man. I'm going to look into it and read the books, that he was reading and those type of things. So that
That's
helped.
awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. So I see that you're doing quite a number of things, and you're helping people like on this deep, deep things that you're doing. And what you're doing is, helping people to scale their business, whatever it is that they've decided to do, but you helping them scaling it with integrity, and purpose and impact. So maybe you could tell me a little bit about that.
Absolutely, and thank you for asking. With my background in franchising, I had 20 years. It's a mystery for most people that I talk with. You bring up the word franchise, and they think McDonald's, Subway, you know, costs $1 million to get involved in it, and everything else. And to simplify it a little bit, franchising is one of three ways to start a business. Number one, you can start up on your own, like you and I have done in this phase of my life. You can start up on your own, and the success curve is up and down because you try something and it doesn't work. So you refocus and you try something, tweak it a little bit, and try it again to see how you can grow your audience, because that's all we're doing. Is trying to grow an audience, just like, Taylor Swift, Michael Jackson, whoever it was that, whoever the entertainer is of the time. So you can start your own. You can buy an existing business, which 90% of those fail because of culture or hidden things that the owner really didn't want anybody to see. It's like buying a house that has a dungeon inside of it, and you can't find it until you own that house. And the third way is through franchising. And when you invest in a franchise, you're still starting your own business. You have a separate business entity, but you're buying an operations manual, and you're buying marketing and support and a brand name to help you grow that audience quicker. So it does cost a little bit more to get started. Typically, about 70% of the brands are between $100,000 and $300,000 all in for the first year. And that includes 3 to 6 months of working capital to pay yourself a salary, a minimal salary. Now, you're not going to travel the world on what you're paying yourself to begin with in franchising, but you want to impact your family as little as possible to begin with. And it takes about a year and a half to 2 years to where you can ramp it up to be able to hire a general manager and truly become a CEO in a franchise. But that's pretty quick. It's taken me, I started my this business back in 21. So now we're 4 years into it, and I'm still growing and learning and all that kind of great stuff every day, man. No matter what I've been through, the fire hose is on and it's soaking me.
And I see that it's creating generation wealth.
Yes, because what I try and do is help my clients, and I don't represent any one brand. So I'm not here to sell XYZ brand. I help my clients answer 5 questions. Is business ownership right for you? Number 1. Number 2, is franchising the right way to start your business? Number 3 is what industry within franchising, because any business you've ever thought of, whether it's plumbing, whether it's roofing, whether just a handyman, all those businesses have a franchise brand, anything you could imagine. So number 3 is what industry within franchising amplifies your current skills and strengths. Number 4 is what brand aligns with your vision and values. So I dig pretty deep with my clients on what their vision and values are to make sure that we align them with the right brand. Misalignment is what causes burnout in any phase of life. If you're constantly fighting yourself and fighting those around you, and you're not aligned, it's like, it's like going to a church that you don't agree with anything they're saying, but you go back every Sunday or Wednesday or Thursday, whenever you go, and you're still beating your head against the wall again for it. So that's number 4 is aligning vision and value. Number 5 then is, and this is where my experience comes in as a leader of a fire department and also a business owner. And we grew our business to $2.5 million. Typically, if somebody can grow a territory $1 million or more, that's basically what they're designed to be, is about $1 million cap. So we did pretty well. But the last question is, how can you shorten your business owner learner's curve? Because the key question for a new business owner is, what don't I know that I need to know?
Right.
I don't know what I don't know.
Right. And you need to know. You have to find out
you're going to find out one way or the other. Right. At some point in time in a business owner, everybody's journey is different, but the overarching principles that go into leading any organization are pretty much the same.
Right. I could see that. And it makes me think of Seth Godin, is it right? The marketing guru, and he speaks about that, he wrote a book about, it was called the Purple Cow. And that's a powerful one, that helped me to try to create something different, because I just don't want to be the other guy who's providing breath work and ice plunges and these retreats and these other events that we're having and stuff like that. I tried to make myself quite unique. That way when people come and they say, hey, there's something different going on here, That
is so interesting, because Image First was the company that I bought the franchise. I was their first franchisee. About 10 years into owning that, and it was a father and son I'd worked with for a year. 10 years into owning that, they brought out a marketing plan called the Purple Cow. So our mascot was the Purple Cow.
Yeah.
One of them must have read the book.
Right. That's one of the reasons when I mentioned earlier about the Purple Sage Festival that we're having. We've had a number of these festivals before. And one of the reasons that I've chosen it was that purpleness was different. But then it started coming to me, there's a scripture that says after Pontius Pilate had beat Jesus, they threw him a purple robe. You see, now they could have said, oh, we just threw him a towel, or we threw him a handkerchief or something, or we just threw him a robe. But they said the purple robe. Why? Because that purple is the sign of God. It's the royalty. It's the highest point in your head right here, the chakra. It's purple. In the spectrum of light, it's the highest one. So, and then the sage is just a dry herb that removes negative energy, or that's the premise to it also. But the other thing I think of also is Michael Gerber's The E-Myth Revisited, and I've taken in this book a few times also, and how he starts working with some of those things like the story about the woman selling the cakes, or right? Or the muffins or something like that. And she was just burnt out that you had spoke about before. It's like, yeah, you need to like hold on a minute, wait a minute, because you keep moving and you need to focus on what is that you want, and then get those people and that systems. It's the systems, so and that's the beauty of this interview that I wanted to share with everyone, is that this is very practical for everyday life, creating
Yes.
these systems. So maybe you could speak a little bit about that.
Well, it starts with mindset, and I spoke to it a little bit earlier: abundant or fixed. And with my fixed mindset, I knew everything I needed to know to get where I wanted to be. I had, of this world, I had all that I needed. I had monetary funds. My daughters were doing great. So there was not an abundance mindset of growing, of learning something from each conversation, Omar. Sitting here talking with you today, I'm learning things about you and a new perspective on the way I may look at things just from hearing your story that I didn't know. So it's all about every moment counts. I remember back in my high school days, I used to golf competitively. And every summer I'd go to a tournament a weekend, just, kind of like pros, except we didn't get paid. And there were so many times that I can look back and think about in the middle of the round, I'd be thinking about what I was doing with my date that night. And I can't control that part. The only thing that I can control is the next words out of my mouth that I'm talking to you with. I don't know what's going to happen in the next 5 minutes. So I can strategize for it to make sure that I'm following my path. But once I do that, I've got to come right back to this moment.
Right.
And stay within this moment, because looking back on the past and all the shameful things I did and all the harmful things I could have done during my drunk days, man, I'd be catatonic in bed.
Yep. Right.
I'd be so ashamed and so fearful. And it goes back to that Bible verse again, and so dishonored for the life that I led that I couldn't move forward. How could I deserve God's love at this point? Well, he does, because it's only in this moment that he cares about. And for him, that's the thing. That's, again, the higher thinking. He isn't bound by time or space.
Right.
He's not bound by any of the things that we are.
Right.
We're bound by our physical presence. We're bound by our point in time. We can't see what's going to happen in the future like he does.
Right.
So it's got to be staying in this moment, and what can I learn, or what value can I add in this very moment?
Yes. And then it's like, what is it that I can do? Right. Because there's standards, right? Because some of your bio speaks about that too. Like, you have to have standards in a company, in your personal life. Like, there's some things that you're not going to cross the line on, which is powerful.
Well, that's your values. That's your values. And the first time you break a value, it's not your value.
Yeah.
The first time, a lot of people in their values say integrity, and that's fine, but integrity means different things to everybody else. Right. When's the last time you were driving a car and went 5 miles over the speed limit? Right. Well, now you're kind of playing with integrity a little bit. So, but I've chosen to make my values actions, because it's a moving forward. We, or anybody that I work with, will treat everybody as a colleague, no matter who they are. They're on equal playing surface. My clients, I learn just as much from working with my clients as they do from me. I learned just as much from John Maxwell as he would for me if I ever had an audience with him. Same with you, Omar. I learned just as much from you as you are from me, because all of our stories are different.
Right.
And we all have a different perspective, even if we're looking at the same thing.
And then you can move forward with power too, and make a change and help. Because I noticed that about you, like you're quite humble, even though there's quite a number of things that you've accomplished. It's quite profound and powerful to help people to see, like, hey, I'm just like you, man. Let's do
We're
it.
all
Let's
we're
get
all the
together. Yeah.
same. Yeah. And
Mhm.
just like I don't look back at my shameful moments,
Right.
I can look back and learn from victories and shameful moments the same.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
I can't rest on, I mean, it's, it's the old saying, don't rest on your laurels. It's
Right.
true, because what happened to me 10 minutes ago
Mm.
doesn't mean anything moving forward.
Right. Right. Yeah. And then going over it in your mind doesn't do anything. It's like kicking yourself in the butt. Like, but how many times are we kicking ourselves here? Like, let's say they were to capture me and put me in a prison for whatever years they've decided that still would not, equate to the harm that I've done to people. And it just doesn't make. I'm grateful, Lucas, that I didn't, do anything like life threatening, because I do have a friend also that, he slipped up. He slipped up and he paid for it too. He did. He did. He was a 7 or 8, 9 years, something like that. Like took away from his life. It was an accident. It was an accident. And he didn't feel that he was drunk, but you see, and look, just that flash of a moment, and that's it. But it's that
Absolutely.
thing with life. Like I heard this other story too, where the gentleman was a professional football player, and he thought everything was great. He was in the club outside with the limo and his people, and the people were outside, and then shots rang out, pap pap pap, and they got into the limousine and drove away. And he was like, man, that was crazy. He got up the next day, and on TV they said, be on the lookout for a black limousine that fled the scene of a murder. He was like, what? And then he gave himself in, and they said, oh yeah, you was the one. It was you. And he was there on trial for his life. He said that the first night when he was in prison, when he was alone and the lights off, he heard a voice that said, could you hear me now?
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yep.
Yep. Could you hear me now? Because that's that thing, the God that we're never disconnected from, always trying to get our attention. Like, hey, this is, you're not supposed to be over there. You're supposed to be living righteous and helping people like that.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree
So
more, brother.
so
And I've
perhaps
never heard the voice. I've never heard the voice. Not yet. It
okay,
doesn't mean I'm not trying, but
right.
God talks to me in different ways. Circumstances, there's
Mm,
no such thing as a coincidence. He
mm,
speaks to me through the word,
mhm,
and the Holy Spirit, which is part of God,
mhm,
lives within me, and it lives
mm,
within you. It lives within every person. So
mhm,
in those quiet times, I just sit back and listen and make sure. You were talking about the systems, but your mindset leads to habits, and habits
mm,
lead to long-term success.
right. Right.
Whatever is right in your world today, do it again tomorrow. Too
Right.
many people, whether it's going to the gym, whether it's reading and setting a specific time to read, and the easiest excuse in the world is, I'm too busy.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
man, when I hear somebody say that, I
Yeah.
just say a quick prayer for them and say,
Right.
look, you're
Thank-
just prioritizing something different.
Right. That's all. We tell people the same thing too. Like, you just don't want it bad enough. That's what it is.
Right.
No, yeah, but yeah, we could all day we could say that. But
Right.
you do speak about the anchoring habits.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Mhm.
It's all about when I took over the fire department, one of the biggest things was our training was very haphazard, was just, it was shotgun approach. Our training officer worked for the city of Cincinnati. He was the only paid guy on our department, and
Mm,
he'd show up and set up a training that day, or we'd sit in the training room and do something. And the reason he said he didn't want to publish the training for the year was because he didn't want people to pick and choose what training they wanted to come to and which one they didn't. Really, it was he didn't want to take the time to plan on the training and to plan it going forward. So one of the very first things I did was said, okay, we only have to have 36 hours of training for each of these firefighters as volunteers. That was it in Ohio. We're going to level up. We're going to train everybody to be a firefighter 1 level, which is a paid firefighter position. And the way we're going to do that is each of our 2 training sessions a month is going to be focused on something that's going to put them closer to that certification. So we became an Ohio State certified training center, which wasn't that hard to do. We just had to have a couple of trainers and send our syllabus to the state. So we became an Ohio State. We published what we were training. I told everybody what the vision was. And once we started doing that, all the departments around us who had run away and never called us in to help them, every one of them called us in to help with their training, to help them when they had fires, to do whatever it took to be part of the community. And it made all the difference in the world. So it was that one little decision that we made as a group and we grew. The funny thing was, during my time as chief in the 11 years, we started off with 25 firefighters on our roster. Maybe 8 of them showed up on a regular basis. 11 years later, we had 50 firefighters on our roster. So we doubled in size, and we were averaging 30 firefighters per training.
Oh my goodness. Just by that thing in the beginning, taking the time to see that vision. Some people say, oh, I don't see the vision. You don't have to see it like, people and all that, just move forward to that thing and God will take care of the rest, just has God has that thing where, you struggle and you build this thing, like it just opens up and say, you know what? We admire that type of tenacity and that focusedness right there. Let's help this brother out right here. Yeah. So how do you maintain authenticity and vision, when you're scaling, franchises or personally?
Well, the authenticity comes in because I'm 60 years old and I've been around the block enough, and I'm not trying to impress anybody, and I'm not trying to win anybody over. People that want to work with me will work with me. I'll welcome them in. I'll talk with anybody in the world at any time. So the authenticity just is being me. It's, and having a people, an other person first mentality. It's not about me. It's not about my success. I've already lived it.
Right.
It's about helping others get there. And they're going to go on their own path. It's the metaphor I use is my company is like an executive jet company. I take my clients from point A, where they are today, to point B, wherever they want to go. There's an infinite number of routes and paths that I can take on that jet airliner. But we're going to get them there the way they want to. If they want to detour off into Tulsa, Oklahoma, and take a stop for a few days, man, we'll do that. If they want to go up to Canada, we'll do that. Wherever they want to go,
right? My
jet will get them there. But we're going to get from point A to point B. It may take a little bit longer,
right?
If you reroute a few places, but my way isn't their way.
And then how about the vision? How do you help someone that comes to you and goes, hey, I just don't see it, man. I want to do this thing, but
3 ways. I work with my client. I teach them 3 tactics. Number 1 is to write that metaphor that I just explained to you about my company. Write a metaphor, whether it's a tree, whether it's an animal, whether it's another company. But then you ask yourself 4 questions. What does that vision look like today? For example, in the tree example, Um, most people say, oh, it's a sapling for people who are getting started. My tree is a sapling. And then where are you?
Sorry about that.
It's all good. Where are you in that initial picture? A lot of people will say, oh, I'm standing there watering it with the watering can. So I'm feeding my company. And then the third question is, what does your vision look like 5 years later? And the tree is grown now. It has many, many branches. There's squirrels and birds and other kinds of animals living in my tree. And where are you in this vision? And a lot of people I hear say, well, I'm standing off 100 yards. I'm still watching it. I can still see my tree. I'm still overseeing what's going on, but I don't have to take care of it on a daily basis. So that's one way. Second way is, and this is powerful, write a celebration story about something that happens 10 years down the road, but write it as if you're right there right now. Write it in the present or the past tense. Write it as if you're right in the middle of this celebration 10 years in the future. For some reason, that play with the tenses triggers something in your mind, and you start asking yourself questions. Who's there at the celebration with me? What are we celebrating? What hurdles have we overcome in those 10 years to get us to this point? And it starts becoming clear. And so those are the three ways that I help clients picture or start forming the picture. And I tell folks, it doesn't have to be crystal clear today. It'll come into focus. The closer you get to it, the next step that you take today and tomorrow, you're going to get closer to it.
Right. The mind starts messing with you. Be like, hey, wait a minute. But in my vision, I didn't see those little triangle sandwiches. I don't see them anywhere. It's like, it's not like that. It's like, yeah, it's okay. Just keep going. And imagination, you already know the masters, they speak about it. You can read many people who have been super successful about it. They just say it's the imagination. You have to sit there and just start meditating on these things. And how is it that they're going to be? How do they look? Just imagine it, And what about the mindset? Could you tell me about what is one of the biggest mindset shifts that you would help people, personally in their life and also in the business world too?
Is the switch from fixed to abundance. And I've talked about it a little bit earlier. It makes all the difference in the world. If you're in a fixed mindset, your thought process is, Omar, there's only X amount in the tank, and Omar gets 80% of it. That means I only get 20% of it today. It's not that at all. It's you and I feeding on each other and feeding each other today to grow and to take that next step. In the abundance mindset says there's an infinite amount of wisdom. There's an infinite amount of riches. There's God gives us everything we need for this moment.
I saw this documentary one time. It was about God, and they told this story about there was this conference of people that were all around, these big, people talking about, oh, we're going to build this thing, this whole temple and all that. And one guy stood up and said, yeah, but where we're going to get the money from? And then one of the other guys stood up and said, we're going to get the money from wherever it is right now. That's it. That's it. There's enough here for
just lay that next brick.
Right. Yeah.
Put that next brick down and then see what happens after that. But if you try and project too far into the future, now there's a dichotomy there, because I also teach people to practice their vision, practice what may happen to them in the future, whether it's positive or negative. And an example that I'll use, and how much longer are you wanting to go? We're almost an hour already, Omar. But the vision that I'll it sounds a little bit more, but it ended up not being. Everything was okay. So don't. But when I first became a volunteer firefighter, our little town, and it was only 15 minutes from downtown Cincinnati. So I could go to a Reds game anytime we wanted to. But we were far enough away that we were outside the city, and it was just a small little, most of the residents were either business owners, Procter and Gamble executives, Fifth Third exec. It was a nice neighborhood. It had a post office, a gas station, and a carryout, and that was it. So mostly residences. And one of my friends came up to me and he said, "Man, I couldn't do what you're doing because I may have to work on somebody that I know really well, or even worse, a family member." And I was like, man, that just set me back. I was like, I hadn't even thought of that. You're absolutely right. What would I do in that situation if I'm having to do CPR on somebody that I know super well, or if it's, part of my family or my wife's family at the time. So what I started doing from that point on is every training that we had a patient, whether it's car wrecks, whether it's going and rescuing people out of fires, whether it's practicing CPR, in my mind, that practice dummy was somebody I knew.
Oh, that's genius.
That was a family member. That was somebody that I knew. And man, I got to tell you, for the first year of trying to do that, it was tough. And that was rough because I'd actually picture. So anyway, after the first year, it got to be great. About year 15, we get called out for a car wreck on Wooster Pike at 4:00 in the afternoon. And I was fire chief at the time, so I got in my vehicle. I didn't have to go to the station. I would be the first one on scene to size it up, let everybody know, talk to the engine coming in. Here's what we're going to need to do. Here's blah, blah, blah. So I drive less than a mile, lights and sirens. That was the coolest part of my job, was driving to and from scenes, lights and sirens. And anyway, I'm going lights and sirens. Pull up on the scene. I see the car. It is smack dead into a tree, probably 3-foot diameter, front end, hood into it. Engine block is backed up into the driver's compartment. It looks bad. I'm thinking somebody's hurt pretty bad. So I look at the sheriff's car and my daughter's standing there. And brother, my heart dropped just like you look. My heart dropped for a second, but she was standing up. She wasn't stuck in the car, so I knew she was good. I'm still the fire chief, so I got work to do. Talking with the engine coming in, and that practice for those 15 years just kicked in.
Wow.
And everybody was fine. Nobody got hurt. She was, and it was funny. I had her checked out by the EMTs, and she was fine. Everything was good. She got in my truck and she just broke down bawling once she got in my truck. But that was the first that she let anybody see her emotions.
Right. Wow. Incredible. Just your story. I'm waiting for your book to come out, brother. I'll be the first one to read it and be distributing it. Trust me, you have these stories, and I feel that they are helping people. So continue with that. And yeah, we are coming up on the hour, and your business is called Bella Vista Executive Advisors. So did you name this one here, or was this the name?
I did. Okay. Yeah, I did, because when I had a 3-year stint in my corporate life in Honduras, my family and I lived on Bella Vista Avenue, Bella Vista Avenida, Tercera Calle in Bella Vista Avenida.
Okay.
So, and it means beautiful view. So
right.
I like it. Talking about views.
Beautiful view. Wow, that's incredible. And why don't we end it with, what are some of the challenges that you feel that would stop people from moving forward in creating this beautiful thing that they already see in some way? But what is it? What are the number of things?
Yeah, there's 3 things. Number one is that fear that we've talked about as a
Mm,
thread throughout this whole conversation, Omar.
mm, mm,
People are afraid to put themselves out there,
mm,
and they look back at past failures. They don't learn from them. They let the failures hold them back.
mm,
The more that you can look at a failure and say, okay, what am I going to learn from this to
mhm,
move myself forward, the better off you're going to be, because you're not going to repeat that same
mm,
thing
right.
as long as you learn from it. Now,
Mhm,
if you don't, and you just look back at your failure and say, I can't do it because
mm,
blah, blah, blah,
mm,
then it will hold you back.
mm,
Failure, time. If you
mm,
don't take that first step today, if you don't call you,
mm, mm,
if somebody
mm,
doesn't call you today,
mhm, mhm,
that they had that thought in their mind, they
mhm,
chances are 80% they never will.
mm,
There's
mhm,
that 20% that'll think about it for a few weeks or
mhm,
months or
mhm,
whatever, and then see you pop up again and then give you a call. But for the most part, they'll never call you.
mm,
Same with me. Same with somebody starting a business. If they
mm,
don't take that first step
mm,
today, when that thought pops in their head, it may
mhm,
never pop back in their head again. So money,
mm,
time, and the third is family support.
mm.
You've got to have your family support. I just had a deal go bad. I've been working with the gentleman for 6 months. He wants to get out of the corporate world. He has all the skills to get out of the corporate world.
Mhm,
He and his wife were on the same page through the whole stage.
mhm,
And at the very last minute, as he's packing to go to what's called Discovery Day,
mhm,
his wife had a change of heart and said,
mhm,
honey, if you
mhm.
go there, we're getting divorced. So
Right. Yeah,
that's,
yeah.
you gotta have
The family. Yeah,
family support.
yeah, yeah. That sounds like it was leading up to that, and there it
I
was.
had
The
no
other shoe
idea.
dropped. Yeah. Wow. Yeah. Yeah. Family first. Family first.
Absolutely.
We always tell people that too, because in the end, you don't go, oh, bring me my cars, bring me my money. No, you go, bring me my family,
Right.
bring me my children, and then after, this physical body leaves and our energy continues, people are not standing around there saying, oh man, did you see how much money he made? Oh, did you see his bank account? No, it's always that thing that you speak about in your bio about the legacy. We didn't touch on that, but it's that thing that you're leaving behind. You're creating this thing, it's
Who did you
beautiful.
help? Who did
Right.
you help? That's
Right.
all people talk about.
Oh my God. And that's what we're all about here, helping people too. I want to thank you for your time and your
My
energy, for
friend,
helping us. Thank you. Thank you.
you are outstanding. Keep up the great work.
Thank you so much. In fact, we're having that Purple Sage Gathering festival that's happening on June 28th. And what we want to do here is tell people that if you can tell us the code word Bella Vista, we will give you 10% off of that ticket, man. And that's it. Let's
Love
keep
it.
it going. Helping people. That's it. That's all we're doing here.
I
Let's
love it,
continue.
Omar.
We're going to leave all your information on the show notes where people could find you. In fact, why don't you tell us a little bit about where people can find you, LinkedIn and
It's LinkedIn, Luke, Luke, Frey, Frey 94 is my profile number. 94 used to be our station number. So I still carry that along with me.
nice,
I,
nice.
and email is Luke at, and just as you see there on the screen, Bay Vista Executive Advisors, except scrunch it into all one word.com.
Okay, beautiful. Thank you so much, man. I can't wait to continue working with you and hear about some things that you're doing in 6 or 9 months from now. Let's have you back, brother.
Bless you and keep up the amazing work, Omar.
Will do. Thank you. There you go, guys. Thank you so much for your time. Peace and love.